All right. Well, welcome everybody, and we are here today at our webinar. So we are going to give people a few more minutes. I see people joining us both on Facebook and on Zoom. So we're excited to have you, and we're very excited to have Jennifer Griffin with us. So let's give a couple more minutes for people to join us. Thank you. And today you're here for the webinar on getting involved through student involvement and leadership. So welcome again. Just a few minutes to give folks a bit more time to get logged on and get comfortable. It'll be a great opportunity to ask questions. At the end, you can do the questions through the Q&A section. So welcome everybody. I see people joining us both on Facebook and Zoom. So I guess without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you today the Director of Student Involvement, Jennifer Griffin. And before I turn it over to Jennifer, let me just remind you of a couple of housekeeping items. Our webinar is being recorded live on Facebook, and it'll stay on Facebook so you can go back and view it or share it with other family members who were not able to join us today. We also will place it on our website, uab.edu/families, under communications, under the 2024 webinars, and you can go back and view it. We will add captions to that webinar. And so give us about a week to 10 days to be able to get it up there. Again, if you have any questions, you can submit them through the Q&A section here, or you can send them live through Facebook. If you have questions afterwards, after we finish our webinar, don't hesitate to send them to us, and we'll be glad to answer those questions. So I guess without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Jennifer Griffin, Director of Student Involvement. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thanks so much, Carmen, and hello, good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate you all taking the time to watch this, whether it be live or a few weeks from now, or the recorded version. And so today's presentation is really going to focus on different outlets for involvement that your student has available to them here at UAB. And so we're going to talk about some specific involvement opportunities, as well as tools that your student can utilize, and even you can utilize as a family member to explore some of the opportunities that exist here on campus. Like Carmen said, my name is Jennifer Griffin, and I serve as the Director for Student Involvement and Leadership here at UAB. And while our office does not offer every involvement opportunity that exists at the university, we do serve as a great hub of information and administer some of the tools that we're going to talk about today that your students have access to. And so let's dive right in. I recognize that some of our parents are family members, maybe family members of an incoming first-time student, or you may have an upper class student that you're supporting, or you might have one of each. And so I'll do my best to really recognize and distinguish between opportunities that are focused towards a student during a certain part in their UAB experience. And so with that being said, this first initiative, Blazer Welcome, is really targeted towards students who are in their first semester here at the university. So whether that means that they're a first-time freshman or that they are a transfer student, Blazer Welcome is focused on supporting students in their transition to college, and more specifically to life here at UAB. Blazer Welcome takes place during the first 4 weeks of the fall semester, and so this fall will take place from August 25th through September 21st. And through Blazer Welcome, students are exposed to different activities and events that are really addressing specific learning outcomes in the areas of academic engagement, campus connections, community engagement, personal wellness, and caring community. And so I thought it might be helpful to tell you a little bit about what students can expect from the different programs and activities that are being offered in each of these areas during that time. A few important things just to note about this program is that while it is absolutely targeted towards first-year students, there might be some specific events and activities that are being offered that are actually really relevant to students of all classifications. And so know that for the most part, none of these programs are closed solely to first year students or transfer students. Again, they're typically open to the full student body, but because of their intended purpose, they may be more relevant for students who are in their first year or so here at the university. And so in academic engagement, we're really trying to help students get integrated into the academic community. We want them to know how to explore different majors that align with their career interests. And we also want them to be able to identify supports on campus that can ultimately assist them in their academic progress. And so the types of activities that you'll see hosted as a part of this specific area are activities like open houses that are being hosted by the academic schools. You might see, the Collette School of Business or the College of Arts and Sciences hosting an open house. Many of our academic support services, so think like the math lab, the writing center, the academic success center, those types of areas might do workshops during this time or have tabling events where students can come by and understand what types of services that they ultimately have. These are opportunities to interact not only with potentially instructors within the academic schools, but also with academic advisors so that our students can begin to create those important relationships with them outside of the classroom. Additionally, this is a great time for students to really have a better understanding of what types of support services exist as it relates to them navigating their academic experience. And we hope that if they're exposed to these tools during the first 4 weeks of the semester, that they'll be able to recall that these resources exist and then even make use of them further on in the semester when they are needing them. So whether it be they've just completed that first exam or maybe they're preparing to take that first exam, we want them to understand and remember what types of resources are available to them. In the area of campus connections, we are, of course, wanting to provide students with the opportunity to develop relationships with their peers. And so being able to connect with other students who are going through the same things as them. And so whether that's students who are in their classes, potentially students that are in other organizations on campus, but being able to really start to build that sense of community is going to be important. And we know that that's one of the most critical things that can really start to happen during the first month of their semester. Through this specific area, there's going to be opportunities for the students to be exposed to UAB's student organization community. And so here at UAB, we have over 400 student organizations. And through those organizations come opportunities for not only involvement, of course, through membership in an organization, but for leadership development, for service at times to their community, and for ongoing professional development. And so thinking about the kind of organization that your student might be interested in and what they'd be wanting to get out of it is going to be an important part of that experience. Community engagement is actually one of the university's core mission pillars. And so it is important to us that our students really, as soon as they get to campus, are exposed to the idea that Blazers serve and they support their communities, they contribute to their communities. And so in doing so, we provide opportunities for our new students to go out and to serve the community alongside their peers. One, because that is a way to introduce them to some of our community organizations that exist and to provide really an introduction to those organizations in the hopes that they'll continue to go back and serve with them throughout their time here in Birmingham. But community engagement also happens to be an incredible way to develop interpersonal connections with others. And so being able to serve with a peer is also a great conversation starter to be able to build a connection and a friendship off of that shared experience of serving together. And so I really try to encourage students in that way, regardless of if they're new to the university or a returning Blazer, that service is always a wonderful vehicle for relationship building. And you are bound to find individuals who share the same values and interests as you. If you're going right and serving with them, they've chosen to do the same thing. And so being able to connect over that shared experience tends to remove sometimes some of the barriers or awkwardness that can exist around developing some of those personal connections. Personal wellness is really focused on our students' ability to make healthy decisions about different lifestyle behaviors. And so we know that when students come to college, they are, for many of them, making decisions independently for the first time. And in doing so, we want to make sure that we equip them to be able to make healthy decisions about things like sleep and diet and exercise and stress management and all of the other things that come with being on your own and really managing your own personal affairs while you're at college. And so through this area, we're really focusing on those things and making sure that our students have the information that they need in order to make good decisions and to think critically about what are those things that really contribute to a health promoting environment. I do want to make sure to mention that UAB is a or has earned the designation of a health promoting university. And so you will see that really play out through your students' experience here at the university. And they will hear that often, whether it be through their experience in the classroom and as they are pursuing their major and degree, or as it relates to their involvement journey as well. So it should be a message that is clear and consistent across their experience here at the university. And then finally, the area of caring community is really focused on making sure that our students are prepared to demonstrate respect for one another, and equipping them to be able to not only acknowledge but to understand the experiences of others and to be able to then build relationships, right, based on that understanding and idea. So lots of great opportunity over the course of the first 4 weeks of the semester. It is really, I would say, just an introduction in all of these areas. There will continue to be opportunities for the students to evolve in each of these areas over the course of their time, throughout the remainder of the academic year, as well as throughout the remainder of their time at the university. But again, through Blazer Welcome, we really try to, at a minimum, introduce students to these concepts through some of these events and activities. One other thing that I'll say about Blazer Welcome before moving on is that I think it's important to understand that there is only one event that happens over the course of first 4 weeks, excuse me, that is required, and that's specifically for new students. It's the new student convocation. Outside of that one event, there are no required activities. So students have to choose to participate in them. And so I share all this and the kind of goals and outcomes for the program in the hopes that you'll encourage your student to participate in these offerings. The goal is not that they participate in every event being offered through Blazer Welcome, but that they're able to, based on their needs and what they know about themselves and their strengths, that they would then determine what activities are relevant to them and participate accordingly. There is a schedule for Blazer Welcome that lives on the Blazer Welcome website. It's just uab.edu/Blazer Welcome. And so that website is currently live. You can go and explore it right now and it'll show the outcomes for that month's activities. It'll talk about some other great tools for first year students. One thing to mention is that there's a schedule tab on the website that will take you to a list of events. And that list of events is really still being populated and will continue to be populated for the next probably month and a half. I like to tell students that really when you should check that schedule, or when I would say it's in its completed version or final version, is going to be on August 1st. And so make sure that's a perfect time to check back, start going through the list of events and activities and kind of bookmarking the ones that your student's excited about and wants to make sure to attend. Until then, the list, again, like right now might look really light, but as we get closer and closer to that August 1st date, there'll continue to be more and more events added during that time. This next program is one that was designed specifically for students who identify as a first generation college student. And so what I mean by first generation college student is a student who will be the first in their family to earn a bachelor's degree. And so we've developed a program called the First Blazers Peer Network that serves as a mentoring opportunity for first generation college students who are also first time freshmen. This mentoring opportunity allows new students to receive advice and encouragement from not only their peers, so from other students who are also first gen, but from students who have actually applied, been selected, and trained to serve as a mentor. Our mentors are upper class students that have successfully navigated their college experience up to where they are now, which is typically enrolls as sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And have not only navigated their academic experience successfully, but have also navigated the campus life. So they've gotten involved on campus. They serve in student organizations. Some of them may have started their own student organizations even through this experience. And so they are, based on that, as well as the training they've received, well equipped to be able to connect incoming students to relevant events and activities that are going on to help them increase their social and academic confidence, help them develop personally as it relates to communication skills, study skills, even, professional development and networking opportunities. And so, membership in this mentoring experience is really advantageous to students who are looking to have some additional support, really in helping them navigate college for the first time. There is an application to participate in the First Blazers program, and this QR code on the screen will actually take you directly to that application. The purpose of the application is really just to record the students who are interested in participating in the program. And so there's not an interview process that coincides with this program. Students will receive, as long as they meet the eligibility criteria for the program, which again is just that they are a first gen student and that they're a first time freshman that's enrolled for the fall semester. As long as they meet that criteria, they'll be accepted into the program, assigned a mentor, and will have the opportunity to participate in the program's offerings over the upcoming year. And so I encourage you, if your student is a first gen student, to direct them to this program. We also were talking about this at orientations this summer, and encouraging students that we get to connect with there to apply. The application is available in kind of multiple ways, but again, this QR code is just one of the ways that you can navigate to it. And I'll talk a little bit more about where the application can be found later on. One other thing that I'll share, so while the First Blazers program and the mentoring opportunity is specific to first-time freshmen, there will be programs and activities that are developed for first-gen students and that are sponsored by this program over the course of the entire year. And those programs will be open to all first-gen students. So it won't matter if they're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Those will be activities where we invite all of our first gen students to come in and participate. And so we host a big to do for the National First Gen College Celebration Day that takes place in November every year. And so we want all of our first gen students to come out and to celebrate that with us. We typically host something through Family Weekend specifically for our first gen students. And so make sure to be on the lookout for some of these kinds of opportunities. If you have a student who's not a freshman, but rather is an upperclassman, but is a first gen student and would benefit from being able to be a part of this community. Another mentoring program that is designed specifically for a first-time freshman here at the university is First Impact. And so First Impact is similar to First Blazers in that it's a mentoring opportunity, but it does not require that the participants be a first-gen student. And so students who are looking for an opportunity to build community here at the university, who want to learn more about campus resources and involvement opportunities, have a desire to grow themselves as leaders, and are interested in serving their community, are great candidates for our First Impact program. First Impact part of First Impact is a kickoff event that actually takes place prior to the first day of classes. That kickoff event is called Blazers at BHM, or Blazers at BHAM. And Blazers at BHAM actually starts the Thursday prior to the first day of classes through Sunday August 25th. And during that time, students are having the opportunity to really get to learn a little bit about navigating campus a little bit before the rest of the incoming class. It's a time when campus is not as crowded, and they'll do a series of activities that'll really help them get some early exposure to some tools and resources that'll be extra helpful for them as they are experiencing college life for the first time. Participating in this program does allow these students to actually move onto campus early if they are going to be living on campus in the fall. And so that's something to keep in mind because the program starts on that Thursday, August 22nd. That's actually the same day that they will end up moving into their residence hall if they're living on campus. Additionally, this program does come with a registration fee. And so there's a $50 fee associated to the First Impact program that covers the cost of their t-shirt as well as a couple of meals during that Blazers at Beham kickoff event from that Thursday through Sunday. And so just some things to keep in mind. This program again is being advised directly out of the Office of Student Involvement and Leadership. And so you can always contact our office if you have questions about this program specifically. I'll share some contact information at the end of the presentation. You can also reach out to Meg in our office. She's the one that's directly supporting this program. The QR code on the screen will direct you to the application for the First Impact program. Can also be found on our website if you want to direct your student there to learn more. And so I've spent some time talking about some programs and initiatives that are really targeted at our first time freshmen. So students who are going to be in their first semester in August. But there continues to be tools and opportunities for our Blazers even after the first semester and after the first year. Your student, regardless of their classification, has access to Engage, and Engage serves as our online involvement platform here at UAB. We always say that there is no bad time to choose to get involved when you're in college. I think the only thing that I ever hear students say is maybe I wish I would have done it a little bit sooner because there's so much to do. And so a great way to really support your student is by encouraging them along the way and also making sure that they reminding them really about these tools that exist and how they can take advantage of them. But Engage again serves as our online involvement platform here at the university. It includes an organization directory. And so what that means is it has a list of all of our student organizations that are currently active and in good standing with the university. Through Engage, students can view a list of organizations that we have on campus. They can actually contact those organizations directly through Engage. They can see events that the organization has coming up and also events that they've hosted previously. They can see officer information and learn about what the specific organization is about. And so it's a great kind of information gathering tool if your student is interested in either exploring student organizations based on a specific interest, or if they're looking for a specific organization. They can actually use there's a search field on Engage where you can actually go in and type the name of a specific organization if they're wanting to know if we have it on campus. I will share that if your student is searching the more than 400 organizations that we have on campus, but they cannot find a single one that they're interested in, and they think that there's a gap that exists within our student organization community, we encourage our students to actually create their own organization. We do have a process and guide for how students can start their own organizations, and the staff here in the Student Involvement Office actually can support those students as they are trying to navigate that process and build their new organization. There is a time frame associated to when new organizations can be registered with the university, and that is really in alignment with the beginning of each semester. So there's a time frame at the beginning of the fall as well as the beginning of the spring semester. And so if that's something that you think your student might be interested in, or if you're hearing your students say like there's no good groups on campus, or I'm not interested in any of the orgs that exist, really challenging them and asking like, well, what kind of group would you want to see, and helping them to explore that concept and idea, and knowing that there's a team here that can really assist them along the way. In addition to being able to explore organizations, again, there's more than 400, and so the list can be somewhat overwhelming if you are trying to review everyone. What I would really encourage a student to do is to really reflect on what they're interested in, and then use some of the category filters that exist on Engage to narrow that list down and see a more customized offering of what the university has that's in direct alignment with their interest. And so using those filters is going to be helpful and help make that list not so daunting. Another cool tool that exists on Engage is the event directory. And so the event directory is really exactly what it sounds like. It is a list of events that are upcoming and that were ultimately designed for students. So these are events that are either being hosted by student organizations or university departments here at UAB, and they were designed specifically for students. There were, gosh, I want to say between 3,000 and 4,000 on-campus events that took place and were registered this past academic year. And so, similar to our organization community, there's no shortage of activities being offered here at the institution, but it can be overwhelming. Sometimes there's so much going on, it's hard to know or to distinguish between like, oh, what am I going to be interested in, or what's relevant to me and what's not. And so I encourage students to use Engage to really determine that. And you can do that using, again, a category filter based on what the student's specific interests are. And so whether it's I want to see activities that are leadership focused, I want to see activities that are focused on making social connections, I want to see activities that are focused on maybe professional development. And so regardless of what it is, they can select those filters to really see a more customized list of what types of events are being offered in that area. It might be that it's not so much top content or topic area that the student is wanting to set some parameters around, but more around the timing of the event or what kinds of things are going to be a part of it. And so there are filters for the event directory where they can say, I just want to see the events that are happening this weekend, or I just want to see the events that are happening today. Similarly, they can also search events by free perks. And so maybe they just want to see the events that are offering free food. That meal plan sometimes can go quickly in your, especially if you're a freshman. And so I think, learning how to managing your kind of dining budget is something that we all learn through our college experience. And so sometimes events offering free food, right? That's all you need to get a student out there. And so you can actually select the free food filter, see what events are coming up that are going to be offering some free food as a part of participating in those activities. So great tool for students to take advantage of. I would say family members, you also have access to Engage. So while a student is able to use their Blazer ID and password to log in to Engage and really have full access to the site's kind of services or information, parents and family members do also have access to Engage. You do not have to log in, but you have the ability to view a public facing site. And so what that will allow you to see is our organization directory. You're not going to be able to look at student contact information, right? Or see the rosters for these groups or contact them directly, but you will be able to see what organizations we have on campus and what public facing events. So there may be events throughout the year that are closed to only members of that organization, or they're invite only. Those kinds of events you're not actually going to see on the public facing event directory, but there's a good number of events that are open to the public, and you'll be able to see those in the same way that your student would. And so just keeping that in mind, that you can get out there and check out this tool as well. I think in the instance when your student comes to you and says like, I'm bored or there's nothing going on campus, this is a great website to have bookmarked and to pull up in the moment when they say that and say like, oh, well, that's weird because I see that there's a field day going on out on the green and I know that you love that kind of thing. Like, why aren't you out there participating in that? They may love or hate you having access to that kind of information. But at the end of the day, we know that only good can come from our family members having access to this and being able to help encourage along with us the students to really get engaged into some of what's going on around the university. Another great tool to explore with your student or on your own is Blazer Pulse. And Blazer Pulse is UAB's online community engagement portal. And so, how you use Blazer Pulse is actually really similar to how you use Engage, but rather than having organizations to join and campus events to attend, it's service opportunities that you're exploring that are here in the Birmingham area. And so Blazer Pulse has a really directory or list of volunteer opportunities that are here in Birmingham, and really in the surrounding community. There's some in, some of the surrounding suburbs of Birmingham. But through Blazer Pulse, you can explore those opportunities. You can actually register to participate in those service activities. You can even record your service hours that you've completed through a community organization here in the Birmingham area. So it's a really cool tool. If you know that your student is very interested in community service and wants to get connected to a community organization here, and that might be really how they develop a sense of belonging in college, then this is a great tool for them to know about. I'd also say that if you know that your student is going to want to apply for leadership opportunities or internships, if they're going into med school or nursing, wanting to apply for scholarships, really any of those things, so many of those experiences actually require students to have either completed a certain number of service hours or require some of these opportunities will require that the student has demonstrated a commitment to serving their community. And so, how do we demonstrate that but through community service? This tool ends up being an incredible way for the students to be able to not only reference what specific service activities they've participated in the past, but you can download your impact record off Blazer Pulse and actually provide it as a supplemental document to support, that scholarship application or that internship application. And I just find that it really gives those students an advantage who have been recording that information over the course of their time here at UAB when they're navigating those processes. If you remember nothing else from this slide, do know that you can access Blazer Pulse from Engage. So there's really only one site or website that you need to remember, and that is the Engage website. There's a service tab on Engage that will actually show your student opportunities from Blazer Pulse. And so if I'm ever worried that the two systems are getting confused or that our students aren't sure where to go, just point them to Engage and you can find everything else from there. So you've got Engage and Blazer Pulse that are great tools to use to explore. We've talked a little bit about our organization community here at the university. There is another way though that students can really get involved, and I would say it's a little bit more low commitment. So sometimes a student is not going to want to join a student organization right off the bat, or they're not going to want to, commit to regularly serving with a community organization. But a great way to really get introduced, I guess, into getting involved into what we have available on campus is really just by attending campus events. The university hosts, again, literally thousands of events each year for students to participate in. And I say the university, many of those are actually hosted by student organizations here at UAB. But that can also be a lot for a student to navigate, or sometimes, the events they're interested in get lost amongst the events they are not interested in. And so I wanted to point out just a few signature events that happen every year that your student can be on the lookout for and that have a really strong following here at the university. And the first is an event called Connect Fest. Connect Fest does actually happen as a part of Blazer Welcome. So it starts or it takes place the Sunday night before the first day of classes, and really is a kickoff to the fall semester. So Connect Fest is when All of our student organizations come out and they table. We usually have some version or form of live music. There's lots of free food, games, activities, usually some form of a free giveaway, and it takes place right in the middle of the campus green. And so we find that it's for our returning students, it really serves as a reunion, and everyone's getting to see each other after being away for the summer. And for our new students, it really serves as this celebration of getting ready to start their first semester in college. And so an incredible event that, again, regardless of if your student's a freshman, sophomore, junior, and so on, that's a really fun event for all students here at the university. I've talked a good bit about community service and how much a part of our institution's kind of foundation that is. And both Into the Streets as well as MLK's Beloved Community are both service events that provide students with opportunities to really get exposure to multiple community organizations that exist here in the Birmingham community. The university actually pre-identifies the service community, provides transportation to the service community and then back to, or excuse me, to the community organization, wherever they're located in the community, and then back to campus. And it's several hours of service that the student commits to. And so it's a great way, if the student isn't wanting to go and serve by themselves for the first time, it's a great way to go in a group setting or a team environment, go with some of your fellow peers and get to connect with a new community partner. While also, again, meeting other students and making some of those connections. Outside of service, we also have some events that are focused on spirit and traditions. And so events like our Homecoming Spirit Week or the university's Creed Week that really celebrates our Creed the Blazer Way are really fun weeks when we get to celebrate the institutional pride that we have for the campus. And so during these weeks, there's block parties happening, and some years there's bonfires, there's concerts, cookouts, and even some activities that really focus on showcasing student talent. And so there's no shortage of fun activities being offered, but also that allow us to kind of all rally around the university and celebrate what it means to be a Blazer. Homecoming traditionally takes place during the fall semester, and Creed Week typically takes place during the spring semester. And so the students have an opportunity in both fall and spring to look forward to around celebrating the traditions of UAB. And then finally, UAB's Got Talent. I'm going to talk actually about Miss UAB here in a couple of slides, but UAB's Got Talent is a student talent showcase. And so students can actually audition to compete in UAB's Got Talent, and they are competing for scholarship money. And so our top 3 finalists are awarded with scholarship funds to then put towards their tuition. And so it's a great prize that you're working towards, but also a really cool opportunity to showcase talent, whether it be song or dance or artistic ability. We've had magic happening on that stage before. And so we allow the students to really define what that talent is. We give them an opportunity to practice their stage presence leading up to the actual showcase. And that event takes place in the spring semester. So if you know that that's something that your student would be excited about, make sure to put that on their radar. We typically start putting a call out for auditions in the fall semester. One thing I don't want to forget to mention is that all of these students are completely free for students to participate in with their Engage Event Pass. And with that, let me tell you quickly about the Engage Event Pass. So this is ultimately a student's ticket into all of the student events that are happening on campus. A event pass is something that is specific to the individual student or user, not specific to the event. And so what that means is that your student can log into their Engage profile right now, and they can pull up their event pass and they can either screenshot it or add it to their Apple Wallet or their Google Pay for Android users. And that way, when they show up to their next campus event, all they have to do is pull that up, have it, and use it to scan into the event. Again, completely free. It's how we we ensure that we're letting in, there are some events that are only open to students and aren't open to faculty, staff, or even community members. And so using this event pass is how we ensure that we're truly serving students with the events that are intended to do so. And then they get to actually kind of build a record of all the events they participated in that they can access at any time on Engage. And so really simple to access their event pass. And there's instructions on our YouTube page, which I'll give you information about towards the end. And we'll share information with the students directly too about how they can do so if they show up to an event and don't have it downloaded. So this is a program that I actually skipped on a couple of slides prior, and that's because I knew we were going to talk about it in a little bit greater detail here in a minute. But we do have a program here at the university called Miss UAB. And Miss UAB is actually a qualifier for the Miss Alabama scholarship program, which is a part of the Miss America organization. And so Miss UAB does serve as a qualifier for Miss Alabama, which again serves as a qualifier for Miss America. And this program has been in existence since 1983. And so this is a program that we are proud of, and that is a scholarship awarding program. Our current Miss UAB is Miss Lacey Johnson, who's preparing to go and participate in the Miss Alabama competition. But really, this Miss UAB experience provides these women, in addition to scholarship money, with incredible leadership development in the form of, and really professional development in the form of leadership development, communication skills, networking opportunities, and in a great kind of experience or environment to then practice and apply these skills through the phases of the competition. There are a few eligibility requirements that are, some of them are specific to us here at UAB and some are specific to the Miss America organization. And so things just to be mindful of. This is a competition though for individuals who have grown up participating in scholarship competitions or pageants, but also for individuals who maybe have never done it before. We have had several Miss UABs over the last several years where the Miss UAB competition was actually their first what you would call pageant. And so that's something that we really pride ourselves on here at the university. Our competition is a little bit later as far as preliminaries go for the Miss Alabama competition. And so what that does is it actually allows students who again might not have thought they were interested but decide that they are to participate in our program. The individual who selected to serve as Miss UAB is provided with some direct support by the Office of Student Involvement and Leadership as they are preparing to participate and compete in Miss Alabama the following summer. And so that's something to keep in mind as well. They don't just win and then we kind of leave them on their own to be able to figure out how to navigate the process from there. We have a staff member who really supports them in preparing for that next opportunity. And so just an incredible experience for your student if they're interested. Another experience that exists here at UAB is fraternity and sorority life. And so if you have a student who is interested in joining a fraternity or sorority, maybe you were a member of a fraternity or sorority when you were in college, if you had the opportunity to attend, that is an experience that is available to our students here at UAB, and an experience that is actually provided out of the Student Involvement and Leadership Office. I actually believe there's a webinar later this summer that's specific to fraternity and sorority life, and so they'll go in much greater detail about this experience, but I did want to share just a little bit of a snapshot at least of what we have as a part of this community and what it means to be a part of this community. Here at UAB, and anytime I'm talking to an incoming student or even a current student who is interested in getting involved in a fraternity or sorority, I really advise them to, when they're determining, I hear students talk about like, oh, I'm really interested in this specific chapter, that before you get to the point of deciding what chapter you're interested in, that first you really explore and research the councils that we have to offer. We have 4 governing councils here at UAB within fraternity and sorority life. We have the Interfraternity Council, which is just made up of fraternities. We have the Multicultural Greek Council, which is made up of both fraternities and sororities. We have the National Panhellenic Council, which is also made up of fraternities and sororities, and then the College Panhellenic Council, which is just made up of sororities. One thing to keep in mind, we are the only campus, I believe, in the state of Alabama that has a multicultural Greek council. And so that's something to consider, and something that we really celebrate here at the university. But the reason that it's important to research the council before selecting a chapter is because how a student is able to join an organization within this community is based on the council they're a part of. And so some councils have recruitment processes where you get to go and you meet all of the chapters, and through a process of mutual selection, you kind of choose the one you want to be in. Whereas there are other councils that do not do a recruitment process. You determine before interacting with any of the chapters which chapter you're interested in, and you specifically pursue membership in that specific organization. And we call that an intake process. And so it's important to understand that there's differences between the councils and how you join the organizations, and even the time of year when they're being offered. So while we might have some councils that host a formal recruitment process in the fall semester, there might be some chapters and other councils that are only accepting new members in the spring semester. And so it really does vary, which again is just why it's important for your student to kind of do their research, for you to help them with that research and try to get an understanding if this isn't something you have experience with. Our staff, of course, is always happy to help students who are new to this community navigate the different intricacies of each council. I will go through each of these councils just so you have an understanding of who has a recruitment process and when they recruit versus who's conducting intake. And so the Interfraternity Council does host recruitment. They actually follow what's called a 365 recruitment model, meaning they technically are able to recruit men to their fraternities year round. And so they do typically host a both fall and spring recruitment process where the men can go and meet each of the chapters that we have in this council, and decide if they want to join one. Both of those happen during the actual academic semester. And so if that's something they're interested in, they should just stay on the lookout for the application to participate in those processes. And it is a pretty, I would say, laid back, informal process. The Multicultural Greek Council hosts an intake process. So there is not a time when necessarily all of their chapters will be accepting new members. They can take in new members during both the fall and spring semester, but a chapter may choose to only take new members during one of those semesters. And so it really just depends on the chapter and what they have decided to do during that academic year. There is an event called MGC Kickoff that takes place at the beginning of the fall semester, and really where each of the chapters kind of introduce themselves and do a little brief kind of like informational that students can come out and participate in if they're interested in just learning more about this specific council. And so that's something that you could come out to in the fall if you think that there might be a group within the Multicultural Greek Council that you're interested in. While I'm talking about that specific council, I will mention that we have actually two new groups that are interest groups that are working to be a part of our Multicultural Greek Council. And so these are two groups that are working to be affiliated with this council, and in doing so, right, are really trying to grow membership in their interest groups. The QR code at the bottom of the screen will actually take you to an application if your student is potentially interested. And so we have the two interest groups. There's a Latino-based fraternity interest group that exists, and then an Asian interest sorority interest group. And so if that's something that you feel like your student might be interested in, I would encourage them to scan this QR code or scan it for them. You can kind of send it to them in a text and encourage them to fill that out. And we'll share more information about those organizations with them through that. The National Panhellenic Council, similar to the Multicultural Greek Council, also follows an intake model. And so what that means is, again, there's not a one consistent time during the academic year when all chapters are taking in new members. It's really going to vary by chapter. And so this is another council where it's important for you to do some good research on the chapters that make up this council to determine which one you might want to be a part of, because it will require you to kind of do some direct outreach to that chapter, understand if and when they're conducting an intake process, and making sure that you don't miss out on that. And then finally, our College Panhellenic Council is, so again, it's solely a council of sororities. We have 6 sororities currently within this council, and they host a formal recruitment process in the fall semester, actually prior to the fall semester. So this is the one group that actually conducts their recruitment process prior to the start of classes in the fall. And so participating in Panhellenic recruitment does require that you not only register to participate in the experience, but if you're going to be living on campus, you will have to move on campus early in order to participate in that experience. And so just something to keep in mind, we work with student housing and residence life so that the women are able to move on campus early. It's not something your student has to navigate on their own. But it is important because the student really has to make the decision that they want to participate or be a part of this specific community before classes start in the fall, because the final day of recruitment is actually the Saturday before classes start. And so again, just something to keep in mind as you're exploring each of the councils. One other thing about the fraternity and sorority community is I do like to share kind of, why would a student choose to join a fraternity or sorority versus any other student organization that we have on campus. And there are some specific benefits to involvement in fraternity and sorority life. And the first one of those benefits is really the sense of community through the brotherhoods and sisterhoods that have been developed within the organizations that we have here at UAB. During the spring 24 semester, we had 946 undergraduate members, which may sound like a lot, but is actually a very intimate community for a school of our size. We currently have 25 fraternities and sororities on our campus here at UAB, not counting the 2 interest groups that I mentioned. And so what that means is that our chapters really vary in size. Anywhere from, in some of our smaller councils, we can have as few as 5 individuals or less within an organization, all the way up until 90 plus in an organization. And so your chapter size is really going to vary by chapter, of course, but also by council. But we're not in an environment where students are joining an organization and where the organizations are so big, you're not able to know everyone that's in it. You typically are not only going to know everyone that's in your same new member class, but you are going to know and have the opportunity to talk with and hang out with every member of the organization. Doesn't mean you have to hang out with every member of the organization, but you could if you wanted to, because the size makes it reasonable. But joining a fraternity or sorority doesn't just create community within your individual chapter, it also creates community within that specific council. And then we find that even a lot of our chapters actually do things with chapters in other councils. And so you end up creating community there as well. And so there's these different kind of, I guess, layers to the different kinds of community that you actually get to be a part of just by joining and holding membership in a single organization. Another benefit of fraternity and sorority life is the scholarship. And so every single one of the organizations in our fraternity and sorority community value academic success and high achievement as it relates to their academic pursuits. And so we really see this translate to the GPA for our fraternity and sorority community. This past spring, our average fraternity and sorority member GPA was a 3.38 compared to the all undergraduate average GPA that was a 3.19. And that's because these organizations not only are setting expectations around the what GPA a student is earning and that they're remaining in good academic standing, but they're even setting some parameters and practices in place within their organizations to support that. So many organizations are going to require that members complete a certain number of study hours in order to stay and remain an active member. They may, facilitate study groups for big exams because you've got multiple people in the organization that are in the same kinds of classes and that are, getting ready for the same kinds of projects or tests that are coming up. And I think through that support, we find that our students really flourish and are really successful because of this kind of added layer of encouragement, but also motivation to keep their grades up and to do well in the classroom. Philanthropy is another big area for our fraternity and sorority community. And so each of our organizations has at least one philanthropic organization that they support directly through the different activities and functions of the chapter. And again, we see that translated through the number of service hours that this community contributes to our local community. This past academic year, it was right under 6,000 service hours that came from our fraternity and sorority community, and over $70,000 that were donated in terms of philanthropic contributions. And so that is significant not only to our community, but is an expectation again of the members of these organizations. Many, if not all, I would assume, of these chapters have volunteer service hour requirements and expectations for their members. And so it is going to be important that your student value community service if they are interested in joining one of these organizations, because it will absolutely be a component of the experience, regardless of what council they decide they're interested in. And then finally, leadership, of course, is an opportunity and benefit of involvement in a fraternity or sorority. You have multiple opportunities to serve as a leader through positional leadership, whether it be at the chapter level. Sometimes within individual new member classes, there's leadership opportunities. There's leadership opportunities at the council level. And for membership in fraternities and sororities also typically provides venues to get involved in other organizations outside of the fraternity and sorority community, where there continues to be leadership opportunities as well. And so lots of benefits to involvement in this community, but it is a unique experience that the student should explore and research prior to committing to. We're nearing the end, and so I wanted to share a couple of kind of final tools that your student can utilize as they are considering involvement here at UAB. And so one of those last tools is a group of students called the UAB Pathfinders. And the UAB Pathfinders are involvement mentors that can assist students in navigating Engage. They can help students with navigating Blazer Pulse. They can provide consultations with students based on their interests and help connect them to specific campus events or specific student organizations that we have here on campus. And so students can connect with Pathfinders either by stopping by the Student Involvement and Leadership office. If there's one available, we're happy to connect them there. They can also actually schedule an appointment with the Pathfinder by using their appointment form on Engage. And so just something to keep in mind, if your student is really sounding like they're overwhelmed and they need some support, and maybe you're not feeling equipped to help them navigate what the university has to offer, know that you don't have to. There are students that have been well trained to be able to provide that exact support. Additionally, these students can also even help students once they're actually in an organization. So I think about those students that may want to start their own organization or that are in a new leadership role within a student organization. The Pathfinders find themselves providing consultations in those specific contexts and settings as well, and really helping our students navigate those experiences. So a great resource to be aware of if your student's interested in getting involved. And then finally, one last kind of opportunity for, again, this says new students, but this is something that a returning student could take advantage of as well if they weren't yet involved on campus. So we do have what we call the Blaze Your Way Involvement Matching Quiz. And this quiz is a short questionnaire that asks the student some questions about their interests. Based on their responses to those questions, this survey will actually provide some immediate recommendations about involvement opportunities that we have here on campus based on how the student completed the survey. And so from there, the student can actually, they can go and view that organization directly and learn a little bit more about them. They can schedule a meeting with a Pathfinder if they want to go through their results with them, to have kind of some immediate follow-up there. But it's a great tool to recommend to your students. You can scan it and share that survey with them, or know that we have on the Student Involvement and Leadership website, we have a new students tab, and this survey is linked there as well. So very easy to find. You can visit our office online at uab.edu/SIL. You can always email our office with questions. Get involved at uab.edu goes directly to several inboxes here in our office. And so know there are real people at the other end of that would be happy to assist you or direct you to whatever resources needed. I do encourage you and your student to follow student involvement on Instagram at Get Involved UAB. We are very often highlighting upcoming events on that page, spotlighting some of our student organizations and some of our student leaders. And so it is a great snapshot of what's coming up here at the university as far as student life goes. And then I know I referenced our YouTube channel earlier on in the presentation. Do feel free to search us on YouTube. It's just UAB Student Involvement. And there are some great video tutorials on how to use Engage. We've got some video tutorials about how to use Blazer Pulse on there. And so if your student can't wait to meet with a Pathfinder and is needing some immediate assistance, you might want to check out some of the playlists that we have out there, because I do think that they could be helpful. But that concludes my formal presentation today. I hope the information shared has been helpful. I do imagine that I've potentially left something out, and so I'm happy to answer any questions that might be out there, but do hope if you think of a question after today, you'll consider one of these venues as a way to get in contact with our office.
Thank you, Jennifer. This is wonderful. What a wealth of information, and families, we hope you take advantage. You may have to look at watch the webinar again with your student so that they know what's available coming in. Once they're here, they'll navigate everything, but it's always good to know what's available, especially with regards to all the other activities, and then getting involved and developing other interests, meeting people with similar interests. So thank you very much, Jennifer, for all of this information. Again, families, this webinar will be will stay on Facebook, and you can go back and view it at your convenience with your student, with other family members or other students that you know, and then it'll be posted on our website. We may have a few minutes for a couple of questions, but if you don't have any questions at the time, this has been a lot of information, but very useful information. I think it's very complete. So if you have questions later on, you can always email getinvolved@uab.edu and submit your questions that way. Maybe your student, once they view the webinar, or once you view it again, you may have other questions. So I guess we do have like 1 minute. If somebody has a question, please submit it through the Q&A now or through Facebook. And if you don't have any other questions, we really appreciate you being here this afternoon, and we look forward to having your students participate all the way from beginning Connect Fest all the way through all the activities. There's a lot coming up. Blazer Welcome activities will last for a while, so the first couple of weeks. So there's always going to be something. So I love the part about food. Check and see what food, which events have food. It's always a great way to connect with other people. So encourage your students to also watch this webinar, watch it with them. You're here to provide them also information, but also we want you as families to know what all is available for you, for your student, and we hope that you stay engaged and connected. So I don't think we have any questions right now, Jennifer, but we thank you very much for this presentation. And we thank all of you for being with us today. And we hope you can watch the webinar, the recorded version again here on Facebook or later on our website. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email either getinvolved@uab.edu, or if you have any other types of questions, families@uab.edu, and we're here for you. So we wish you all a great afternoon, and thank you, Jennifer, and have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Thanks so much for having me.